So now I've just scrubbed, and as we talked about, keeping my fingers above my elbow, water's dripping off my elbow, but yet I want to make sure that I'm not just dripping all over my gown and my gloves. So I'm standing a bit distant, and then I'm just going to reach over, and I'm going to grab my towel, and notice it's got a little fold on the towel, and I'm just going to shake the towel out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this surface and this end of the towel for my right hand. So I'm going to start at my fingers. And notice I'm being careful to hold everything out from my body. I'm not rubbing the towel up against my belly. I'm not rubbing it against the table. Everything is being held out from those surfaces that will contaminate the towel. And now I'm going to work my way down my arm until I get just above the elbow. So this surface of the upper end of this towel is now wet and contaminated. So to do the other hand, I'm going to use the other surface and the other end of the towel. And we'll essentially just repeat the process, okay? So starting at the hand, working my way down my arm, keeping away from my body. And now when it comes time to throw away the towel, you can just drop it. You don't need to reach down. We never reach down below our waist. So we can walk over the waist can if we want, or with our assistant, we can just drop it there on the floor. The inner surface of the gown is what I'm looking at. And so I'm going to grab that inner surface of the gown, and I'm going to lift it up. So the outer surface of the gown, is kind of hidden from both of us. And notice how, if I show you inside the gown, now I'm kind of reaching inside the shoulders. That's the inner surface of the gown. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop the gown. Now notice I'm stepping away from the table to do this. I'm also holding it away from my body so that we're not going to contaminate the gown on anything as I drop it. So now look at where my hands are. My hands are reaching in to my sleeves, okay? So anything I'm touching thus far has been all inside the gown. I'm going to reach my right arm up the right sleeve. I'm going to reach my left arm up the left sleeve, and I'm going to make sock puppets so that we can do a closed gloving. Now here's my gloves inside this sleeve, and I'm going to use my sock puppets to open that up, and I'm being careful. You can see everything wants to kind of reach forward if need be. Yeah, my assistant can come in and tighten up my shoulders just a little bit so that my gown doesn't creep forward. Okay, and now I'm going to use these sock puppets to open up this sleeve for my gloves, or the envelope for my gloves, and I'm being careful again just to keep everything right on this sterile field. Now, when it comes to my right glove, I'm going to reach for it with my left hand. And this is where it's a little bit confusing. Right there you can see the thumb of the glove. What I'm going to do is that with my left hand, I'm going to reach inside this cuff. And again, there's the thumb still, okay? So I'm going to place it thumb to thumb. Right now, the thumb of the glove is laying along the shaft of the thumb of my hand, and I'm just going to reach inside with my left hand. Again, everything is sock puppets. You haven't seen my fingertips yet. And I'm just going to pull the glove on, okay? Now again, use my left sock puppet to pull that glove in place. So the first time you see my fingers is actually up inside the glove. They've never been outside my sleeve. That's what makes it a closed gloving. We're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to use my gloved hand. I'm going to bring it over with this sock puppet. I'm going to go thumb, see them? Thumb to thumb. I'm going to reach inside, and And now, and only now, are my fingers starting to become exposed from my sleeve up inside my glove. And here's Mr. Thumb, see? Right up into the thumb of the glove, okay? And if I need to do little adjustments now, I can, all right? And then the last part of gowning is for me to wrap this around the back of my gown. Rather than me reaching there myself, I'll use my assistant. She holds the tag. And now we're ready to go to surgery.